Hi, everybody. Dan Harley here, and this is another episode of Tech Talk with Dan Harley. May 14th, 18th, sorry, 2026. I got no idea what day it is anymore. Anyway, I've been wanting to get back to the building more content, stuff like that, and I kind of had a brain fart, whatever. Of all the things I can talk about, I just don't know. Anyway, I had a friend of mine just recently here. He posted something about anti data center stuff. And this is a guy, a friend of mine here. He's not very tech savvy. He can barely turn his computer on. In fact, he's come to me for help quite a few times here. So, and apparently, I'm come from a different angle. I'm from the technology part of it. I didn't realize this was a big issue until he kind of triggered it and kind of looked around and said, "Oh shoot, people are a little upset about this stuff." And certainly, and also all of a sudden, somebody who's really a lot of people that really have no technical background, all of a sudden, experts at data centers. So, um, and but let me bring this up here too. Those of you who know me know that I'm not a big fan of mainstream media, and so they are doing their due diligence and spinning this thing up pretty well. So what's been happening here? These data centers are supposedly, by according to mainstream media, it's causing water shortages, power outages, wildlife risk, um, ugly ugly land, rooting open land, stuff like that. We're all going to die, kind of thing. And it just is gonna get. It's this fear narrative is just getting too far here. So anyway, I decided did a little bit more extra research on this thing here too. So make sure we make this educational point here. Okay. Um, here's something important here. Some of the stuff that that does bring up is true. Okay, data centers could take up a lot of water. They could take up a lot of power, and so on and so forth. Okay. However, the concerns are not really legitimate. Okay. I'm not dismissing the fact these are valid concerns. Okay, these are engineering issues and not necessarily inner world issues here. Okay, so that's the problem we've been having here is these discussions really turned into data centers are evil. AI infrastructure is going to destroy California. People are going to die. Livestock, animals are going to be extinct, so on and so forth. That's not the case. The reality check here is, and that's why I'm doing this thing here too. Kind of what's actually going on, what actual engineering of these modern engineering to these data centers are going to be. And here's something else here too. Data centers are not new. They've been around for literally decades. Okay, they're basically a clump of computers that do a certain thing. Okay, more specifically now, there are a lot more computers because a lot more processing power is necessary because of AI. Okay, so um, so a lot of people are getting the wrong or bad information about how data centers work and stuff like that. Somehow, some way, um, there's a there's an looking at old school stuff. I got an idea why this water thing is a big issue, but we're going to cover that too. Anyway, let me back up a little bit, get a little bit of my background for those who don't know about me. I've been a techie for most all my life. I've had Apple II serial number 520 when I was 11 years old. That's quite a while ago. I'll just say that much. I've been around computers forever. Also, I have about 25 years experience in water industry, which is kind of a unique situation when we talk about data centers and water usage. I've been a SCADA engineer for my family's company, designed, developed, manufactured, and installed a lot of SCADA systems across the United States. So I have a pretty strong background that too. So I can bring those two issues in the conversation right now. Okay. Uh, Now here's reality here. If you're saying data centers are coming around more and more, so yes, that's the reality. Data centers are coming. Okay. That part is inevitable. You're going to see data centers pop up somewhere. The question is not if they're going to pop up, it's where they're going to pop up, or what, and not whether either. It's there. It's more or less where. Okay, so The challenge we have a lot here is the NIMBY issue, not in my backyard. Okay. And again, these concerns are legitimate. People look at, well, I don't want to run out of water. I don't want any power losses and so on and so forth. Legitimate reasons. Okay. However, I think these causes, these problems are way overblown here. Okay. And else, so anyway, so let me start digging deeper here. Let's a lot of people arguing about the data centers here. Let's do a hypothetical here. We're going to pretend we're going to put a data center in Sacramento, California. Okay. And we're kind of go along that route here. And then, and the three big problems here with putting a data center is really, you got the water issue, you got the power issue, and I got a land issue. I saw the first two initially here. Let's imagine we're going to do we're going to put something in Sacramento, California. Okay. Basically the capital of California here. All right. So let's talk about the water issue. A data center would probably utilize about 1 to 2%, contrary to people's popular belief, maybe 1 or 2% of Sacramento's current water production right now. Depending on what you look at it, you say, well, that's not that much, only 1 or 2%. Or you say, well, that's 1 or 2%. It could have gone someplace else. Okay, good, valid reason here. Now, most people don't realize here, this is where the engineering comes in. Okay, Sacramento has a pretty large wastewater facility there, wastewater treatment facility here, and even at current level, they can more than accommodate what a data center would use in water. Okay, and by the way, too, let me talk about why you use so much water in a data center here too. But anyway, so let's get back to it. So right now, the wastewater facility can more than accommodate if hypothetically a data center, when it goes there in Sacramento. Okay, so the water issue, using water for residential or agriculture, that's done. Okay, now why use water so much? Okay, is because water is the cheapest way to cool stuff down. Okay, so that's why a lot of these data centers use water. Okay, and use a lot of water. Okay, if it's available. All right, so now we just figured something else out right now in Sacramento. We can use wastewater, treated wastewater, which most people are going to do, or fine if rather I'm not going to drink it, so may as well use it for something else. That's a perfect use for it. Okay, so there's that. Okay, and here's something else here too. We don't necessarily have to use water to cool down the data centers. Okay, you can use like a dry loop or end loop, whatever. Which if you ever see somebody with a pretty fancy gaming computer, you see this fancy kind of or even your car where you have radiator, you have water in your radiator there. That all stays within a closed system there. So it affects, with the exception of filling up the reservoir, you don't use any water. It keeps going through the system and cools on its own. Same thing with these fancy gaming computers. They do the same thing. So you don't really have to use any water at all if you don't want to, if you use a different type of technology. However, both ways here. The thing about water being a big issue, I hope I dispelled it right now. Okay. If there's a wastewater treatment plant available close by, done. Okay. If not a wastewater treatment plant goes by, there's different technology we can use to cool down a data center. Okay. All right. Next thing here is power. That's a bigger problem than what you call it, the water situation, because these computers suck a lot of power. So, and in California, there's a bigger issue here because we're almost at capacity with what we got now. You can talk to politics all you want. Fact is, we have experienced brownouts and stuff like that. If you ever have a computer and experience brownout, not a good idea here. Not a good experience, especially have a huge data center and all these brownouts going on. You start losing computers, and on top of that, being down, you could literally be losing millions of dollars a second or minute or whatever. So you don't want those things to go down. So, and so the power, so coming off the grid is probably, even though they might come off the grid and it might be substantial, most of these data centers are going to try to develop their own power. So solar, wind, even most people don't think about it, but a gas generator, natural gas generators, these are all modern technology stuff. So these can be set up on at a campus there, where their primary, you could use either primary their own power consumption, or and they can use a backup from off the grid, or vice versa. Okay, so that's not really, here's something that's not really as much of an issue anymore. And really, the power these data centers needs to be 24/7 consistent, fail safe. Okay, so that's going to be priority. And if they can't rely on the grid, they're going to build it themselves. Okay, by the way, it's hypothetical that we're going to build a data center in Sacramento here. So anyway, let's go back one here too. Another thing that's really come up really, really close here, that's going to be really game changer for everything here, is portable nuclear, generators. We're probably within a year or two where we're officially going to start. They're going to start rolling these things out as commercial private use, whatever. That's going to solve a lot of problems right there. One of these trucks would roll in there and provide the power to these data centers. That's all done. Now it doesn't touch the regular grid. So that is an issue that's basically be solved. Okay. So the two big things, the power, water, this really not an issue. Third thing is the land. Okay. This is a big thing, and not what you might expect. Okay. Well, land is expensive in California, but these companies are going to run these data centers. They're billion trillion dollar companies. So the cost of land is not going to be an issue. The regulations are going to be a bigger issue. Reason why all this stuff's coming around, the mainstream media pushing all this gobbledygook, is causing more of these regulations. That's it's probably not necessary. And here's something else here too. That's the reason why. The third thing is probably the reason why you're not going to see a data center in Sacramento over let's say Fargo, North Dakota, or South Dakota, or Bismarck, whatever, because of all the regulations in California. Okay, you can start that. I'm not sure if you've ever built a house around here or building. There's something called SEPA in California, where you can start building out, and all of a sudden somebody thinks there's a endangered rat on your property. All of a sudden everything got to stop. You got to deal with that. It's a big mess, rather than just building somewhere out in the Tules there without those regulations. So anyway, so that's the bigger problem. Regulations, land, where it's at, location, more so than the two things that, or the three things we talked about. I don't understand why wildlife was brought up here. Apparently people, apparently some people think the data centers are going to endanger animals, stuff like that. Maybe, okay, but I don't think that's as big of an issue as legitimately power and water. Okay, so those two are solved. The third thing is probably going to be a more difficult thing. Okay, now my opinion here, if hypothetically we're going to try to build a data center in Sacramento, I'd be up front. I would rather build it in South Dakota. Okay, reason being is they have so much natural gas that they're really burning off the wells. Now they don't have the infrastructure to deliver that natural gas yet, but these data center folks, they got a lot of money. They can make it happen. It's basically free power to them. So that issue with power is going to be solved by just simply being in North or South Dakota. Okay. And in the water issue, okay, they don't have as much of an issue as we do here. And even if they use different technology, that's all said and done. Okay. So, and then they still need to bring the infrastructure and so on and so forth, which California has. Okay. But if it comes down to all this regulations and stuff like that, all the pushback the game publicly, privately, whatever. Why be here at all? And there's something else here too. California's supposed to be the tech capital of the world. Okay, we should have data centers here. We should embrace this stuff here. But even I noticed recently there's a big pushback of all this stuff here. And these companies are not stupid. These people that run them are not stupid. This is, well, you know what? We're just take our toys and go someplace else. That's probably what's going to happen, unfortunately. So, and by the way, too, what this means here too is all these jobs that come together, really thousands of jobs to build these data centers. We're talking contractors, HVAC, supplies, little tech jobs and stuff like that. All those are going to roll in and better the economy, either be it here in Sacramento or someplace else. Okay. By the way, I don't mean to pick on Sacramento. I just picked that out of the blue. So that's a bigger issue. Okay. So anyway, I'm not going to probably piss up people off with this one here. I'm trying not to keep tech talk as politically, but I'm really trying to bring out the practical, the logical, realistic facts about tech centers here. Okay. They're not going to kill you. Okay. They're not going to kill us. Okay, they're going to be a need for us here. Here's the positive side of tech centers. Because of AI, because of what's going on here, data centers, things are advancing. Things are developed much, much faster. Logarithmically faster, tenfold faster than before. Huge advancements in health even, okay? We're discovering stuff health-wise that we didn't know a year or two ago, which going to lead to cures for things, and we live longer, live better. Okay, so that's a positive thing, and even in life in general, I know I've been emulsified with AI. It makes things much easier to run my business and everything in general. Okay, so it's not all bad. Okay, it's actually that's a good thing. There's a good thing on this side of these tech centers. So, and maybe you might see me as kind of a big old cheerleader for tech centers and stuff like that. But maybe I am. But anyway, it is what it is. Okay. Anyway, I got to wrap this thing up because I got an appointment here in about 10-15 minutes. If you have any questions on all this stuff, by all means, I want some feedback on this thing here, good or bad. Okay. And I'll do my best to respond to it. And also, too, I'll try to get out more content here. I got a lot of stuff I need to talk about with small businesses, especially those who work for home services, home-based stuff. I got a lot of stuff I'm going to try to kick out here in the next few weeks here. Okay. Anyway, that's it. Thanks a lot. We'll talk to you later.